Good evening and welcome to the regular council meeting for Wednesday, April 3rd. We are starting right at 6 p.m. This time, I'd like to do our monthly land acknowledgement in English. We honor all the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries. We acknowledge that the ancestral and traditional lands on which we gather are land of the Blackfoot Confederacy and Treaty 7 territory, a traditional meeting ground for many Indigenous peoples, and in particular our neighbors, Siksika Nation, on whose traditional territory we work, live, and play, and on whose traditional territory we stand and where Strathmore resides. At this time, I'd like to confirm the agenda. Are there any emergent items from any of the councillors to present on the agenda or to add to the agenda? Anything from administration or lead services?
Thank you, Worship. Nothing from administration.
Thank you. Then I'm looking for a motion. Councillor Wegener.
I move that council adopt the April 3rd, 2024 regular meeting agenda as presented.
Thank you. You've all heard the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion is carried. We do not have a public hearing tonight. Public comments. Again, members of the public are welcome to provide comments regarding items on the agenda in person during the council meeting, virtually or in writing. Should you wish to provide public comments virtually or in writing, please fill out the request to speak at a council meeting form that can be located on the town's website. Delegations, item 5. We have 2 delegations tonight. 5.1, delegation rescued paws at Alpine Foundation. And I believe we have Kyla speaking tonight. And Alicia, have you got your essay done? No, I thought I'd go back in time to when we were still in English 20 together. Oh, good. So come on forward. We have a podium here for you, and there's a red button you can speak into the microphone, and I think we're all set up for your PowerPoint as well. And welcome.
Good evening, councillors. My name is Kyla Janes. I'm the founder of Rescued Paws at Alpine Foundation. Mike Janes is also my husband. We live on the property where we founded the business. And then Alicia O'Keefe here is here to take over the rescue as one of the main directors and continue our mission. What we're here to do tonight is we are here on behalf of Rescued Paws at Alpine Foundation. We are committed to rescuing and rehoming local group dogs within both municipalities of Strathmore and the Wheatland County. So what we're actually wanting to talk about tonight in majority is the idea of using part of the pound that is one of the municipality buildings that is not being completely utilized as we think that we could totally help out with in the community. So right now, our biggest challenge is that we do not have a permanent location to operate out of on a daily basis. So right now, we have had to halt all intakes for any local dogs or strays that are in Strathmore and the county as well. Due to the fact that we were so overwhelmed over the last year and a half with over 200 dogs that we rehomed just last year. in our small family business that is on our own personal property, housing those dogs in our home-based facility. It all in all ended up costing just shy of $200,000 in boarding fees. Yes,
Did I hear you say you rehome 200 dogs?
yeah, just over 200 last year. And that is a mix, 100% of Strathmore dogs that were brought to us in Wheatland County. A lot of them were owner surrenders due to the housing crisis, and then also just due to people not spaying and neutering their animals, and then having a lot of them abandoned, either in the parks or on the side of the road. So one of our goals is to be able to work with the town. Number one, we have already set in place working relationships with FAME and Prospects from Calgary, which helps with a lot of our adolescents that are looking for job placements in the future. So we work with these people, and they come out in either groups or with some help, and they come and walk dogs. They help to learn how to care for them. So our entire program itself is volunteer-based, so we don't need to hire a whole bunch of people to do that. We're already able to function on fairly low amounts of income. But one of the biggest things that would be very beneficial is having the building that would be in town. It would be a lot easier for our FAME, what do we call them? Volunteers, to come and help work there a little bit more often, because right now they have to get transport out to our location when we have dogs that stay with us or come to all of our events. So using the building would help us in being able to facilitate more events, being able to house dogs temporarily. One of the biggest things too is we have worked a lot with Animal Care Center over the last 7 years. Jody Kester is on our board. She is not here with us just because she's also in many other volunteer positions, but Jody right now at Animal Care Center, they are kind of where people go to when they find a lost or stray dog, and we would like to take that off of their plate as well. So if somebody does find a lost dog, they are able to call the rescue number, we can scan them, find their microchip, find the missing parent, and then help get that dog home rather than having to utilize a veterinarian clinic, which then potentially is exposing the hospital to things that are dangerous to other animals. Yes. So in having use of the pound, because it has it does already house Happy Cat, and so we would want to work with Happy Cat in order to work together. So we would be able to have volunteers go in and care for the animals that are in there on a daily basis. We also would be able to facilitate all of our adoption events and have a lot more opportunities to do things in town just because we are in the country right now, and that is a little bit of a limitation for having some of that awareness. But ideally, what we'd like to do is have sorry, I lost my place now. We would like to take over operating and maintaining the property itself so that we can set up some quarantine rooms, be able to intake those lost and stray dogs, and eliminates a lot of issues that are related to the safety and security of animals when they are lost and stray and there is no health records that we're able to find for that said animal. That way it keeps everyone at the veterinarian clinic safe. You don't have a whole bunch of dogs that are being housed there at the hospital. They also cannot come to Alpine View Pet Spa anymore, just because we do have a boarding facility there, and so intaking any animals there, if they are not owner surrenders with veterinarian records, we don't have a history to be able to say, okay, this animal is safe then to come in and stay with us. So we were building quarantine rooms, which we are out of space now for. So that's kind of where we're coming to the town for that. We also feel that because we are all Strathmorites. We've grown up here. We've all gone to high school here and graduated here. We do a lot of work in the community, and we feel that the community would benefit a lot from having something that would be a really big network of community support with everybody. And then I think Alicia will talk about some of the future stuff that she has, but that is the history of what Rescue Paws is and kind of where she's wanting to move forward with.
Yeah, sorry. So having the pound would be great, just to have a facility for those dogs to go to. I do have a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan, so us sharing the pound would not be forever. It would be one of those things where as I apply for grant money, I can then get an own building where we can do in-house surgeries and stuff like that, where we can provide more of a support that way. And then, sorry, I'm just gonna. So I see this as a collaborative effort between our organization and the town council. Having a non-for-profit here brings in a lot of extra stuff to our town. And then I plan to actively involve the community in our rescue. So we do a lot of volunteer events. A lot of kids in high school love to come and volunteer for us. It gives them exposure to animals, whether or not that's something that they want to pursue as their career. A little bit about me is that I was working for Kyla, where I found my love for animals, and I went to tech school, and that's what I did for the last year and a half. And if I wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't have known, and then I don't know where I would be. So now I'm here trying to kind of give that to everyone else as well, just something that they can do. And then I'm fully prepared to assume responsibility for the ongoing maintenance, utilities, and costs associated with the pound building. And then more so when I do get my own building, that will be fully on myself, and then all the grant money that we pull in. And that's just like a little bit about where I'm going to take it. Yeah, and then our goal is that we're hoping that coming to you guys, we can arrange to get a building of our own so that we can continue to work together to support Strathmore and Wheatland County, just to keep the strays off the streets and everything. Yeah, that's it. I think that's all I have to say. Do you have any questions?
Thank you for your presentation, Kyla and Alicia.
Were you gonna say Victoria?
Yeah, yeah. I have to explain. I had Alicia in my English class, but she has a twin, so I could never figure out who I was talking to. It was pretty sad.
That's okay.
Councillor Peterson?
Thank you, Worship. So your only ask coming here today is for the use of the building?
Yes, whether that be the pound or if you guys know of somewhere else that would be suitable for us, that's something I would love to discuss if you know of something or have something.
So you're not asking, there's no money ask, there's no dollar ask at this point?
No, just a building.
And have you sought support from any of the other communities, outlying communities, or the county at this point?
No, not
You
yet.
haven't yet, but you plan on
I
doing
do.
that, I'm assuming?
Yes.
And so have you got an idea in your 5-year plan, have you got an idea of the value added that you'd bring? You know, so the reason I ask is when we have this agreement with Happy Cat that you've referenced, and one of the things that we know fundamentally is that working with Happy Cat has saved the municipality significant amounts of money over time. And that's for a variety of reasons, because of the in-kind services that they bring, and the, like you talked about, the volunteerism and the donations and grants that they get. And so I've seen what you've done in the community. I've seen the excessive amount of effort and energy that's gone into fundraising. And within the community, it's been really impressive. And so that value-added component is a really good thing for us to see at some point.
Yes, and I do have, it is in the works right now, whether it'll be the 5-year plan or the 10-year plan, it just depending on how set up I get. One of my vet friends and I are going to be doing these drive-around vet services where we go to low-income areas and do like vaccines, nail trims, and we'll have a mobile service set up where we can spay, neuter, those things, because I know that a lot of the problem stems from the money you have have to take care of the pets. So I think that it is great that I want to continue the rescue, but also I want to be able to go to the root of the problem. And I think that in my plan will also bring value to the rescue and the
an
town.
element. I just saw on the Town of Azar, or Village of Azar's website today, asking for that exact service because they
Yes.
lost their existing service. And so I saw that. And
Parachutes for Pets and us have already worked quite collaboratively together in doing some spay and neuters that we had this last summer. We did, I think, 10 spays and neuters, including together, that we both shared the cost on and fundraised for all of that. So that saved a lot of intact animals running around, for sure.
And it's certainly a lot more difficult with dogs. I mean, with cats, when they can do a spay, neuter, and release, and it's not something you can do with dogs. So your job is made harder. So speaking to that exact same thing, do you have agreements with other vets besides the animal care clinic at this point? And it's really great. I love your board because you've done this really great due diligence around bringing a comprehensive group together for that board, and it's an impressive board. I want to congratulate you on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, but do you work with other vets? And the reason I ask, I know Animal Care Clinic is amazing, but one of the things that we found with Happy Cat is that they've spread out the pain among all the other community vets.
Yeah, so I do. I am in talks with one of the vets that lives here to do more of like the vaccines on site. And then in Calgary, I am talking about getting kind of help there as well, just to kind of get it all spread out. And the one in Calgary, it's just if it's closer to get to the ER vet. That way we have that there for an option if we need it.
And my final question, Your Worship, so in your 10-year plan, you briefly mentioned it, I think, but just to confirm, one of the things that you'd like to achieve is an independent space. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate the presentation and the information. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Wegner. I have a question for either Mark or CAO Scoble. I have never been actually to the pound. Well, once I bailed out Councillor Wegner, but that was when he was roaming a lot. I don't know, do we have the size? Do we have the capacity? What would be the logistics of possibly partnering with Alpine?
Yes, Your Worship. The existing pound is actually at the old mechanic shop. So there's some challenges there with after-hour access. That's why we have arranged with the animal care centers that if an animal is reported and caught, that animal care center will hold it for us for the next business day, typically, and that way we can pick it up the next day and then we can house it at that point. The current pound only has space right now for 2 dogs. So in the event that we actually have to hold a dog for longer than 24 hours or things like that, if we ever have that issue, then we're occupying 1 or 2 of our spots that are open. We do have some part of the pound is for cats, and Happy Cat is utilizing that because their own facility is at capacity, is my understanding.
So go ahead, Kyla.
Yeah, so I just have a little bit to touch on that. We actually had gotten together with a couple of bylaw officers this summer, and they had actually reached out to ask if we would be willing to run the pound for them so that when they had these stray dogs come in, just because Animal Care Center was overwhelmed with all of the strays and trying to keep them at the veterinarian clinic and then calling in a vet overnight. So one of the things that we're hoping in, creating this bit of a partnership here is that instead of having to call the vet in for an after-hours call, then you could call the rescue, and that we were told that we would be given a key card so that we could access the facility and then intake that animal for, whatever cause that was going to be at that point. And then in the morning, we could call and, find the microchip number and handle it from there. But I think Alicia's plan was to have somebody on call like 24/7 for those types of calls. And then bylaw officers wouldn't be the ones responsible to have to, go in and take them to the pound. It would be somebody from the rescue that would be able to do that. The same as Michelle goes in and basically, goes and mans everything there. We were just hoping to be able to help relieve some of that pressure then on the officers that are having to handle that, as I've talked to them over the last few months about it too.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. CAO Scobel, is this something that we would leave in the hands of administration and with you and Mark to,
Yeah, I think you would direct administration to look at the feasibility of this, work with the group, and come back and see if something's workable, I guess, and what
Okay.
would be the town cost to,
sure.
if we have to expand or build new infrastructure or whatever to accommodate more, so.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Peterson?
Thank you, Worship. I do have a motion if you'd entertain it. I would move that we direct administration to look at the feasibility of the potential capacity to form a value-added partnership with Alpine. I forget your name.
Rescued Paws.
Alpine Rescue Paws. Thank you.
And did you want to speak to it?
No, Your Worship, they've answered my questions absolutely beautifully. The presentation was full of great information, and I know that our senior leadership team will do more than what we need. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any comments from councillors? Anything at home, Councillor Montgomery?
No, thank you.
Thank you. So seeing no discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
And that motion is carried.
Your
Thank-
Worship, is there wisdom in putting a date on that? Because I didn't do that, and I might be wrong in that, but we can leave that up to administration, I'm assuming. But you will look after that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. It was good seeing you again, and we look forward to hearing back from our administration with their report.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Take care. We move now to our second delegation, item 5.2, Southland Transport. Good evening, gentlemen. I believe we have Jonathan and Gerardo? If you wouldn't mind coming up to the mic and then just introducing yourselves.
Your Worship, Councillors, Administration, my name is Jonathan Wheel. I'm the Director of Business Development for Southland Transportation. As you know, we do have some school buses that operate here, but as you'll see in the presentation, we do far more than just school busing. And administration reached out to us and asked if we would give a presentation to you on transit opportunities for the town of Strathmore. I will say that I did speak to somebody from the town, I think it was in 2019 or 2020, a long time ago, but I think something called COVID came along and spoiled all of that. So yeah, I would like the presentation. This is my colleague, Gerardo.
Good afternoon, everybody. Gerardo Moreno. I'm a senior project manager with RICO. RICO is a partner with Southland Transportation. We actually have engaged into multiple projects and operations of demand response transportation in the province of Alberta, and as well as some other areas of Canada as well. So I'll be assisting Jonathan and Southland Transportation if any questions in regards to the technology itself arise. Thank you.
So I will see if I get this. There we go. So a bit about PWT. So Southland is part of the Pacific Western Transportation Group of companies, established in 1957. We have 5,500 employees across Canada. We were acquired by Student Transportation of Canada in 2022, and we're part of Student Transportation of America, which is a bit convoluted. And we're actually owned by the Quebec pension fund that looks after all of the teachers, etc., the administrators. We have 4 lines of business. We have transit, student, motor coach, and employee. We have 37 different transit contracts across Canada, and 14 of those are this on-demand system. So we operate also commuter services to 9 different communities throughout Alberta. So what on-demand transit is it's a cross between an Uber and a transit service. It's an on-demand service that you use an app on your phone or various other methods to book a ride. When you book that ride, it will tell you when somebody's going to come and pick you up. You can track the vehicle as it's on the road. So it's very new. The very first one in the very first town in North America to go 100% with an on-demand transit system was the town of Cochrane. Shortly followed 2 weeks later by the town of Okotoks. And since then, we've expanded throughout Alberta. And it's something that makes it makes transit a viable option for smaller communities of under 100,000 people. So we look forward to the next 5 years, and we think about what Strathmore's going to be doing. And the beauty of on-demand transit is that the most important part of it is its flexibility. So when you have a fixed route system, the bus is going round and round in circles, whether or not there's people getting on it or not. And the bus has to fit to a schedule because that's where people are wanting to get the bus. Whereas with on-demand transit, we don't fix the schedule, the users fix the schedule. So the bus is used when they want to use it. You could increase and decrease service offerings, so you don't have to put out a new timetable. If you decide that you have your rodeo and you want to increase service till midnight on one night, you can just do that because everything is done on an hourly rate. So there's a much reduced administration because everything is controlled by the app. The app controls everything in real time. So it uses the app. We have a call center in Calgary, which covers the whole country for any calls. So Strathmore would have its own telephone number. When it calls through to the call center, they would know where the person was calling from and answer it as Strathmore Transit. And then they can help them. So they can take bookings. They can help people who are struggling with any part of the app that they don't understand. You can make web bookings. It uses algorithms to predict journey times. So if it knows that to get from point A to point B during the normal working day takes 7 minutes, but it builds up a memory that when it's traveling between, say, 8 and 9 in the morning, it actually takes 11 minutes. So it works on that, and it says, well, actually, if I turn off here and go round here and take a different route, I'll get to my destination much quicker. So that's part of the routing system that it uses. So you book a ride. There's an app, Strathmore Transit app, or you can call the call center or via the web. So you type in your pickup or drop-off location, select the time and date of the trip. You can book in advance. You can schedule trips. If you want to go there every week at the same time, you can schedule those. And then once you've done that, you select your seat type. So you select whether it's, if you've got a small child with you that needs a booster seat, or a wheelchair user. And then any instructions for the driver, which might be, I'm going to have lots of shopping bags. And the difference between a regular transit service, one of the things that our customers really, really like is that the driver will get off the bus and help you with your stroller or with your child or with your bags of shopping and help you get them into there. It's all part of the customer service. It's a far more personal service than you would get from regular transit. And then there's so many different options for payment. The town of Cochrane, they issue you can buy a monthly pass, which allows the user to ride the bus at any time for one set fee. The town of Okotoks, you pre-buy 50, 10, 100 journeys, and the price goes down the more you buy in advance. Those credits are put onto your account, and you use them that way. So different methods. The town of Cochrane picks you up from what we call a bus stop, a communal bus stop. So every house in Cochrane is less than 400 meters from a bus stop. And so they're strategically planned, so you're told which bus stop to go to, where the bus will pick you up, depending on which side of the street and it's going. With Okotoks, they do a door-to-door service or a curb-to-curb service. They come and pick everybody up at their front door. So you can actually, once you've booked your bus, you can actually watch it live coming towards you or where it's going. If you've got students or children, like you don't have to take your kids to hockey practice anymore. You charge up their app and they can book their own rides and go wherever they need to go. But you can watch them on the bus as they're moving around. And you can see an updated estimated time of arrival. You can also get walking distance and directions if you go into if you decide that's the model that you wanted to go with. Contracted on-demand transit in Canada. So these are all the different locations that we're doing right now around Alberta and Canada. You can see that some of these are very small towns like Innisfail and Blackfolds. Innisfail just has one bus. Blackfolds has one bus that goes around. Blackfolds was the first on-demand transit service that actually integrates a commuter service too. So you can ride the bus into Red Deer. You can book it to take you into Red Deer. The town of Innisfail, they have a second bus where the residents can book it to take them to hospital appointments in Red Deer or Calgary or Edmonton or anywhere else they want to go for a fixed fee. With regard to pricing, it depends. You set the pricing. So it's usually somewhere between $2.50 and $5 per ride. So at either end, Innisfail's the most expensive at $5 a ride. Some of the others, but you can also say that people on low income or would ride for free, or you could say that people from that are going to the food bank go for free, that sort of thing. So you can see we've run from some fairly large towns and cities, right down Calgary and Edmonton have on demand. Down to the smaller places, said like Innisfail. It's been very, very successful everywhere that we've run it. Ridership has improved month on month since the very beginning. Even during COVID, when other transit systems were running at about 10% of their pre-COVID, we were already back to 100% on demand because there's less people on the bus, people feel safer, and they went back onto transit straight away. In fact, the town of Okotoks during COVID, they actually, for their seniors and vulnerable people that couldn't get out, they arranged with the local supermarkets that they could call in and the on-demand transit buses would go to the supermarket and pick up their shopping for them and take it back to the community centres for them. So these are some of the on-demand implementations. So Town of Cochrane had no previous transit. It uses congregated stops. It's accessible. They can carry wheelchairs as well. They have over 250 passengers daily within its first 3 weeks of service. And a really interesting thing is people are choosing to use the transit rather than their car. They're leaving their cars at home and taking the transit because it's cheaper and it's easier. And over 70%, and our rider satisfaction is 4.7 out of 5. Town of Okotoks, slightly different. They launched a little bit later. That 130 riders daily is a little bit out of date. They do a different service. They run their service from 5:30 a.m. until 11:30 p.m. at night, 6 days a week, shorter service on a Sunday, but they do also operate on stat days as well. And they started off with 2 vehicles, and they're now up to 8 vehicles that they have running it. It's just the success of it is beyond their wildest dreams, and it's the same with Cochrane and with the other communities that we work with. These are different types of on-demand vehicles and the number of people that they can carry. So there's different types, and I would recommend to council and administration is that there's funding available from the federal government. It's the Rural Transit Funding Program. It started off with a couple of $1 billion, and what they do is they'll open it up for 3 months, accept applications from communities, then they close it down whilst they process all of those, and then they open it up again. It's actually closed right now, but we expect it to open up within the next month or so. And with that, you can get funding for infrastructure and vehicles. You can't get funding for operations, but for infrastructure and vehicles. So, for example, the town of Cochrane, they used the money that they got from their grant to buy 8 vehicles, even though initially they only needed 2, so that they can rotate them. They don't use them so much. They bought them at, if only they knew how much cheaper they got them for in 2019 than they would cost them now. And so what they also did was they built a transit hub in the center of Cochrane. But their transit hub, one half of it, they turned into a center of innovation. And so it has like boardrooms and small office cubicles and things like that for small local businesses that they can use. So they got a double use out of their funding. So that's something that I can help you with if administration wants to apply for that, because I've gone through it many times. We've also used, we're working with Sutina Nation to put on-demand transit onto the nation. And we also run a shuttle service for Stony Nakoda between Minithne, the casino, and Cochrane to allow takes people off the highway, walking on the highway. And I'm just working with Cold Lake First Nations as well now on a very, very similar project. So this is our on-demand call center. It's from 5:30 in the morning till 1 a.m., provides support to customers via phone, text, and email, provides support to on-demand drivers, delivers weekly and monthly KPIs to our customers so they can see how it's performing. We deal with all the customer complaints. We provide all the training, we employ the drivers, we employ the dispatchers, we work closely with Rideco, we manage that contract. We look after, as I say, we recruit and we have all of our recruitment center. We provide better service at a far reduced cost. Scalability of the service, we can increase and decrease service as it's needed. And cost efficiency, so operating costs, savings against fixed routes. So as an example, the town of Cochrane have been waiting 13 years for their transit service. They first looked at it in 2006, and they had the city of Calgary come in and say, this is what you need to do for your transit service. And they quoted them back then $1.6 million to reach 60% of their population. Our service reaches 95% of the population and cost them initially $500,000 a year to reach 95% of their population. Now, the cost has gone up because they've expanded. It's got much, much bigger. The town of Okotoks started off with a cost of $400,000 a year, and they're now up to about $900,000 a year because demand has just outstripped the availability of vehicles, and it's been such a massive success. And it's also worked as they're a commuter town, a bedroom community. So families that only have one car, they can leave the car and the person who's working can take the car to work, and the person who stays at home with the children has got access to transit at all time. And it's safe and it's efficient. All of our drivers are obviously background checked and vulnerable sector checked as well. So I hope I got through that in time, and I hope you have some questions or you would like to see how this can work for the town of Strathmore.
Thank you for your presentation. My question is, so this is strictly from Strathmore to Calgary, or is it within town
No,
too?
this is strictly within the town.
Within the town of
This
Strathmore?
is within the town.
Okay, because Okotoks Rome, does it not go to Calgary as well?
No, that's a separate service.
Okay.
That we operate a commuter service between. We've been operating since 1995. We've been operating a service from Okotoks to downtown Calgary and from Cochrane to downtown Calgary. And yeah, we've been operating there successfully. It's obviously that has changed greatly since COVID, and it's actually changed greatly since the oil crash in 2014, when we went from we used to take 5 full motor coaches, about 250 people a day to downtown Calgary. At the moment, we're taking about 35. as I say, during COVID, with people working from home now and split working, 2 days in the office and 3 days from home, it has affected that. But yeah, that's been a very, very popular service, and the same from Cochrane. It's still used, but this is within Strathmore. As an example, Innisfail actually encompasses Innisfail and Bowden and Penhold. So they've worked it with all the communities around them, and so you can call the bus to any of those communities. It will come pick you up and take you to your destination. And one of the things that the app does, because it's a smart app, it will say that if this gentleman over here wanted to go to a certain place at a certain time, and you wanted to go somewhere that wasn't far away, it may pick you up and then pick you up and then drop you off and then drop you off. So it knows, and whilst it's taking you there, somebody else may say, I want to be picked up. So while I'm driving, it thinks to itself, I'm driving right past the house, so I'll pick them up on the way and take them too. So that's why it becomes more cost effective, is because it goes where the need is, as opposed to, I'm just going to go round and round in circles, and if somebody gets on, they get on. If they don't, they don't.
Okay, thank you. So if I've got this right, there are grants available to get the actual vehicles?
That's correct.
And then, so you were saying Cochrane went from 500,000 to 900,000?
That was Okotoks,
Okotoks.
their annual cost, yes.
So the municipality pays that 500,000 a year to and then it went up to
Yeah, they do,
900,000?
yeah. They
Okay.
pay the operating costs.
Okay, so this is a municipally, financially supported
Yep.
transit system. I see.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And it's, as I say, it would be much cheaper than or much more cost effective than a fixed route system. But you can, so for example, the town of Innisfail, their total bill is $140,000 a year. And they have their buses from 8 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday to Friday, and then on Saturday and Sunday in the mornings. Mornings between 9 and 12. The town of Blackfolds, they're close to 250,000 a year, because they have the commuter service that runs backwards and forwards. They do 4 trips a day into Red Deer as well. So they spend a little bit more. So it's different ends of the scale. That's the beauty of it, is if you say, so you can also do it in different ways. So the town of Innisfail, they bought the vehicles through the grant funding. So there's no vehicle cost for them. They maintain them in their own facility, and they provide the fuel from their own place. And so all we provide is we provide the driver, we provide all the training, we provide the insurance on the vehicle, and we provide the app and all of the customer service that goes with us. So their hourly rate is much lower, and so, but you can take pieces off. So the town of Okotoks, they pay the fuel, and we do the maintenance, and we do the other parts. So it's the beauty of it is that you can add and take away pieces, and you can add hours and take away hours. If you say, well, the cost is $60 an hour, and I've got $600 to spend, well, you're going to spend 10 hours a year, right? You add in however it fits your budget. So I think, if I recall correctly, when it went through in Cochrane, which is obviously a much larger community, it worked out at $36 per household per year to run their transit service for them.
Thank you. Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Worship. So when you talked about Innisfail's cost being $140,000, does that include the contribution from Bowden and Penhold?
No, that's the total cost.
So that's the total cost of the Bowden,
Yeah.
Innisfail, Penhold?
Yeah.
Because what, Innisfail has about 8,000 people?
Yes.
And then Bowden, 500,
Yeah.
Penhold, 1,000, so,
Yeah.
so it'd be about half the size of this, of our population together? Okay.
Yeah. So as I said,
And that's all in, so the 140,000 is all in with those 3 communities?
Yeah. So you could say that, you could say, I only want to run the service between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. and between 3 and 6. And you can see that if people are using it and there's more, the community wants more use out of it and they want you to extend to the evenings. Or you could say, well, on a Friday and Saturday, I want to keep people off the roads in the cars, so I'm going to extend service on a Friday and Saturday evening. And you just literally add in 60, 70, 80, $90 an hour, whatever it works out to be, depending upon how you put the package together. And you just say, well, I want to do 3 hours on a Saturday night for 50 Saturday nights of the year, and so this is what it's going to cost me.
So would you ever conceive of a process whereby we're in proximity to communities like Lakes of Muirfield, which is out on our west border, Rockyford, Standard, Hazard? Would you ever consider a situation where there would be one day a week where they might be in those communities, or one morning a week? Is that a conceptual possibility?
That's the beauty of this. It's so flexible that you can move it around, and it's a bit like, I don't know, going into Subway and building a sandwich, right? You put on it what you want on it, and you take off what you want on it. And you can set it up that way. And that's why a lot of communities such as yours, with populations the size of yours, around 10 to 15,000, and well, from 5,000 up to 30,000, are saying this is an amazing concept because we can add and subtract to it however we want. You might find that more people will use it during the summertime when the children are off. And so, well, I'm going to run during the day during the summertime, or I'm going to run during the day on Fridays and Saturdays. And that's something that the data we collect, that's the most important thing. With a bus riding around in circles, nobody knows, apart from how much you take in fares, who's using it and when they're using it. We can see through the data that's gathered. So I could tell you how many people each day, or Gerardo could, how many people each day tried to book a trip but couldn't because it was too busy, or how many people tried to book a trip but then booked one an hour later because they could, and all of those sort of things. And so, Gerardo, we meet monthly with the community, or sometimes weekly, bi-weekly when it starts off, and we say, hey, do you realize that between 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock in the morning, we're turning around 30 people, we're turning away 30 people every day? Right? We really need to put a second bus on between 10 and 11 every morning, or between 10 and 12, because people really want to use it then. And so we can, then the transportation person or administration comes to council and says, hey, I need another $25,000 because the people really want to use it at this time. And part of this process that we manage with you is the consultation process with the community. So we usually say that there should be a 3 to 6 month lead time from when you make the decision that, yeah, we're going to go with it. We have a 3 to 6 month lead time where we go out into the community. We arrange community meetings and open days and open houses where people can come along, they can ask questions, they can tell us what they want, they could say, oh, we'd love you to do this, we'd love you to do that. They could decide if they want a curb-to-curb service or they want a congregated stop service. So it's really is, partly it's down to council and administration for how much money you're spending, but you're working and setting the service up on what the community wants, because we realise that, especially in Alberta, that people aren't used to transit, and it takes a lot to get them to leave their cars at home. We run the service between Calgary and Banff during the summer, and we did a survey at the end of last year, and for Albertans to turn around and say that over 40% of our riders chose to leave their car at home and take the coach out to Banff.
It's huge.
Right? That's like, we were absolutely stunned that people were choosing to leave their cars behind. And it's because it's the Parks Canada have made it difficult for people to take their cars out there, right, with the price and parking and everything. So,
Your Worship, from an economic development perspective, if we think about, what our CEO often refers to as a coalition of the willing, with our small urban communities, having the potential to have one bus here, one bus out there, is it an advantage from an economic development perspective to be able to bring those people into town? Is it an advantage to them to be able to keep capacity population capacity in their communities so that people know that they don't need to have more than one vehicle to be able to live in a rural community, or any vehicle, actually, to live in a rural community and still be able to access the larger urban community. And then, you know, our Siksika neighbors have 4,500 people living 42 kilometers away from us as well.
Yep.
And they are a huge source of economic contribution to this community, and we have other partnerships with them. So it would be interesting to consider all of those possibilities into the future, for sure.
Definitely. There's some people that you should talk to. So you should speak to Mayor Jeff Ganong. I don't know. Strathmore, are you part of his medium-sized mayors? Right. So he wants me to come and do a talk at the next one. I've worked closely with him since he was elected back in 2018. And so he was the first one. He went down to Vegas and saw this micro-transit show, and he came back and phoned me up because he knew I did the On It service and said, "What is this?" And I didn't even know what it was. And we went out and the same, talk to Elaine at Okotoks, the CAO in Okotoks, Elaine Vincent, or talk to Preston up in Blackfolds, or talk to Megan in Innisfail. They'll tell you what their experience is. Megan's just signed a new contract with us to extend. We just got an extension with Okotoks and with Blackfolds. Their communities love it. And as I say, it's something that enhances the communities. And one of the things that Mayor Ganong said to us was that they've used it as a way to entice businesses into their town, because they have access to people can travel and get to their business without having to have a car. And there are communities in Canada that have said transit's free, and they've seen a massive influx of people wanting to move to that town because they can get around the town for free. And it's funny, at one time we were going to christen the Okotoks service the Walmart Costco transit service, because like 70% of journeys ended or started at Costco and Walmart. It's but that's the sort of thing that people couldn't get to normally.
Thank you. Councillor Langmaid.
Yep. That's okay. So
We can come back to you, for sure.
With regard to access to the city, especially, say, for New Canadians, as I say, we've been operating that since the mid-90s. We've been doing commuter links, and some of that is subsidised. You find that the province will subsidise some of that. You can get funding. They were when Greyhound stopped working. They were handing out a lot of money to communities. And the other thing which is really, really interesting would be a partnership with Siksika, because Siksika, whilst the Rural Transit Funding Programme would fund 80% of the costs for you, it would fund 100% of them for Siksika. So that's what we did with Stony Nakoda, and that's what we're doing with Tsuut'ina. Because although Tsuut'ina, they're right on the edge of the city, a lot further than a lot closer than Siksika is, or Stony Nakoda, they still don't have that last 5-minute, 10-minute link into the city. And of course, they're out as far as Bragg Creek on the far side of the nation. So at one time, I hope to be able to, I have had bits and pieces of conversations with Band and Council at Siksika, but I think that's something that both the federal and the provincial government would invest in.
Thank you. Councillor Langmaid.
Thank you very much. I now remember my question.
And your lights on.
And my lights on, so everything's going well for me. What I'm wondering is, have there been any examples of public and private partnerships in supplying this service? And what I'm thinking of specifically is in Strathmore, we have a few developments coming on the edge of our boundaries that, a significant number of people would be driving to and from every day for work. And I was wondering if there are any examples of private partnerships with companies like that
so-
that might be able to help us.
Yeah, so with Blackfolds, they work closely with, I can't remember the name, there's a business in Red Deer that they work with. Eagle Builders. And also with the college, with Red Deer College. And so there would be, I would 100% say that if you have community partners like developers that are building new communities or industrial estates, industrial buildings on the edge, you would be asking them for a contribution towards the transit service so that it could operate out to their areas. And you could find that they would be helpful with funding it, because if they want to attract people to their new industrial estate, they've got to attract workers that want to go there. And the same with if they want people to live there, they don't, if they're on the outskirts of town, they don't want to have everybody have two cars, or, everybody knows that a two-car family, one of the cars sits for 160 hours out of 168 a week, right? And it's costing you an absolute fortune and it doesn't go anywhere. And so this sort of takes that away, and that requirement to have two vehicles.
I wanted to add something.
Yeah, sure.
So to refer to you, other opportunities that we work with in both towns, Okotoks and Cochrane, they actually find opportunities to get advertising, rotating advertising in a very clever manner based on mileage, sort of, with different businesses. So a way to create those partnerships might not necessarily be involved by destination, but actually opportunities to advertise or promote certain events like a charter day or a coupon code for a particular event sponsored by, let's say a sporting event or thing like that. So there are opportunities to do that as well.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. Council and I will discuss this further. We'll meet with our administration and we'll see where we go from there. But I appreciate learning more about this transit approach, and really enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming
the
tonight.
time, everybody. Thanks for inviting us.
Thank you. So we move now to item 6, the consent agenda. Are there any items that are presented as potentially being on the consent agenda that any councillors would like to see removed and dealt with in separate? Seeing and hearing none, is someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Langmaid, Deputy Mayor Langmaid?
Thank you very much. I would move that council adopt the recommendations of the following agenda reports by an omnibus motion. 7.1, special council meeting minutes, March 15th, 2024. 7.2, regular council meeting minutes, March 20th, 2024. 8.1, service and service level inventory policy number 1218. 8.2, corporate business plan. 10.2.1, Strathmore Library Board regular meeting minutes for February 20th, 2024. 10.2.2, Wheatland Housing Management Body regular meeting minutes for January 18th, 2024. And 11.1, letter of appreciation, County of Grand Prairie, number 1.
Thank you for that motion, Deputy Mayor. I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
And that motion is carried. We now move on to item 8.3, budget amendment wastewater treatment plant. Good evening, Ethan.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council. I'm here tonight to ask for an amendment to our approved budget. We've unfortunately had a failure at our wastewater treatment plant that needs for repairs. So in and around February 15th, we started to notice issues with our primary clarifier. Some subsequent investigations has confirmed that there is a mechanical failure, and as such, we have been employing alternate methods of treatment over the past 6 weeks. As such, the primary clarifier is a key part of our treatment process. And as long as we continue with it out of service, we'll be less efficient in our treatment processes, likely to use more chemicals, those sort of things. However, we are still maintaining our effluent quality. We are not exceeding any guidelines at this time, and everything has been reported to the right agencies. So I am asking for a budget amendment of $175,000 for these repairs, and subsequently we have offered to cancel the polymer makeup project for this year. That project, although would be nice to have completed, is not a critical project at this time. So if you have any questions, happy to answer them.
Thank you. I have Councillor Peterson and Deputy Mayor Langmaid.
Thank you, Worship. So Director, I was just wondering, so very clearly you've said that the subsidiary treatments that you've been able to undertake won't impact the treated water into the outfall?
That is correct. EPCOR is regularly testing, even more than they regularly do, and confirm that we're all within our guidelines.
I do really appreciate too the effort that you've taken to find a way to do a makeup. I appreciate that.
Deputy Mayor Langmaid.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I have a very easy question. Could you just remind me what the polymer makeup project was?
So that project was, we were changing from a wet polymer system to a dry polymer system. Couple of reasons: more efficient, availability of materials is a little bit easier, and just long-term serviceability.
All right, I'm really glad you know that. Thank you. 'Cause, yeah, I did not. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Councillor Peterson.
If we wait on that polymer project, will we run into supply chain? Do you have a crystal ball that can tell you that?
My very foggy crystal ball.
Yeah,
It doesn't indicate we have supply chain issues. We typically order sufficient supply, long lead. It's just one's more readily available, not that we're not able to get the other.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm ready with a motion, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson.
I'd move that council approve an amendment to the 2024 budget allowing the primary clarifier repairs to be completed in the amount of $175,000 with funds coming from the Canada Community Building Fund CCBF grant, and the council direct administration to cancel the polymer makeup project of $325,000 that was in the 2024 budget and bring the project back through the 2025 budget process.
Thank you for the motion. Any comments or questions on the motion? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
And that motion is carried. Thank you, Ethan. We move now to bylaws 9.1, land use bylaw amending bylaw number 23-03, 15 Bayside Place, which is on page 91. Sorry, 95.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, Kate.
One moment, please. I try to share my screen. Good evening. Today I would like to present an application for a land use redesignation of 15 Bayside Place to facilitate the development of 2 apartment buildings and childcare facility. The site currently consists of an undeveloped lot with the C1 neighborhood commercial district. Residential uses are not permitted in the C1 district. The land lot spans an area of 0.54 hectares. While this area was previously regarded as an industrial district, the town is experiencing growth and transformation, shifting towards residential functions. This trend is evident from nearby developments, starting from 7, 8, and 9 Bayside Place, and extending to the current lot. While some industrial lots remain in the neighborhood, there have been residential land use redesignations occurring in Bayside Place over the years. The project comparison a total of 54 apartment units that equaling a proposed density of 100 units per hectare. The building height requirement in the R3 high density residential district is 14 meters or 4 stories for apartment buildings. The proposed building heights are 4 stories and 15.7 meters, which will require minor variance at the development permit stage if the land use is supported by council. The apartment configuration consists of 8 one-bedroom units and 46 two-bedroom units. Parking requirements amount to 77 permanent stalls in accordance with the land use bylaw, 1 parking stall per 1-bedroom unit and 1.5 parking stalls per 2-bedroom unit, with an additional 8 parking stalls designed for visitor parking. Additionally, the apartment buildings will include a common amenity space, offering scenic views of the nature features to the west. The proposed future 2-story childcare service facility will be housed in an adjacent building, providing optimal conditions for current and future residents. Parking for the childcare service will adhere to the requirement of 1 parking stall per staff member, with the developer's calculation indicating that 5 parking stalls will suffice. Furthermore, the childcare service will feature a private playground. In terms of landscaping, the developer proposed several green islands adorned with trees and bushes. In conclusion, the proposed land use redesignation of 2 4-story apartment buildings, along with the future childcare facility, may help address the demand for housing and childcare services, and may also enhance the livability and vibrancy of the area. Overall, the project proposes a blend of residential and commercial spaces, and in staff's opinion, will contribute positively to the social, economical, and environmental fabric of Strathmore. Staff believe that the location is suitable for the development of the project and represents a positive direction to the town's growth. The application is largely in line with the town's municipal development plan, and several policies support the application. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Kate. Are there any questions for Kate? Councillor Peterson?
Thank you for that presentation, Kate. I was just wondering, you know, how you perceive or if you have been able to think about the announcement within the last 3 days about the $6 billion housing, the municipal provincial support program for $1 billion on infrastructure, and the $5 billion that has come out for housing, and just thinking about how that would impact on this program, and just how it would how the town would fit into that, because it appears like the federal government has put significant amount of pressure on municipalities to buy into this structure of that $6 billion plus the $1 billion that starts in 2025 around affordable housing. And I'm wondering if you see potential for any capacity building in terms of our municipality in this, both on the infrastructure side for stormwater, wastewater, and of course I'm thinking about our Kinsman lands and the lands to the directly north of our town office here and in Strathaven, and then of course the affordable housing with regards to projects such as Bayside Place.
Thank you so much for your question. May I ask Jamie's help for answer? I think it will be better.
Through the chair, we did hear that announcement as well. We're still waiting for more details on what that money means for us. We do understand that there's going to be a lot of strings attached to that, so we'll have to investigate what that might mean for Strathmore moving forward. But we are, hopefully there's some potential there for us, but we have to look into that.
I was listening to the Halifax mayor talk about it in terms of his community. He had the mayors of the smaller communities on the peninsula talking about it, and how they see it impacting their because it looks like there's tremendous pressure for municipalities if you want to meet the threshold around density, and you know, projects like this that you're brokering here, you know, are pretty impressive and seem to be such a terrific fit in terms of that. And then, you know, when you're up in the helicopter over top of Strathmore, you see all these wetlands all around us, and what capacity we might have in that. But I appreciate the fact that it's very early and that there's lots of work to do in this, but I'm really glad you're on it. Thank you.
And how'd you like to make a couple of motions? Thank you. Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would move that council give first reading to bylaw number 24-03, being a bylaw to amend the land use bylaw number 14-11, and that council direct administration to schedule a public hearing for bylaw number 24-03 on May 1st, 2024 at 6 p.m. in council chambers. And I apologize for being a little thick and not getting on that quicker. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you for that eventual motion. All in favor?
Aye.
And that motion is carried. We move now to item 10, 10.1, questions between councillors and council statements. Councillor Deputy Mayor Langmaid, and then Councillor Peterson.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Tonight, I'd like to take a few minutes of the public's time and administration's time and council's time to recognize that on April 1st, 2024, the Royal Canadian Air Force celebrated its 100th anniversary of its formation as a distinct military element in Canada. Since its establishment in 1924, the RCAF has flown over 200 aircraft and supported hundreds of operations around the world, contributing to national safety and security, international peace, and global stability. As we reflect upon this milestone, let us not forget the courageous souls who have served under the banner of the RCAF, both past and present. Their unwavering dedication, selflessness, and sacrifice have woven a tapestry of valor that adorns the fabric of our nation's history. We owe them a debt of gratitude, one that can only be repaid through our unwavering support, respect, and remembrance. In our own community of Strathmore and its surrounding region, we are privileged to count among us current and retired members of the RCAF. Likewise, we extend our heartfelt appreciation to the 903 Strathmore Royal Canadian Air Cadet Squadron, whose young cadets embody the ideals of service, integrity, and excellence. I'd like to take this moment to honor and express my profound gratitude to the brave souls who have taken to the skies in defense of our nation and our shared Canadian values. Their sacrifices shall never be forgotten, and their legacy forever etched in the annals of our nation's history.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Peterson.
Yeah, thank you for that, Councillor Langmaid, or Deputy Mayor Langmaid. I just had a question, and I should have asked it before we pulled the Marigold minutes off the library minutes. I see that there's a March 9th PLSB meeting being held, that was held in Strathmore?
Yes, there was a meeting on March 9th. PLSB held a seminar on parliamentarianism for parliamentarian activities for library trustees, and they attended from across Alberta.
Oh, I thought they were going to come and tell us that libraries could finally be independent and borrow money and all those things.
No, I'm sorry, nothing quite that world-changing.
Thanks so much.
Any other comments or statements between councillors? Councillor Peterson.
Your Worship, on behalf of council, I would like to congratulate our Staff Sergeant Wagos, for his tremendous achievement in being awarded. I'm looking up the award right now. Our Staff Sergeant was given the prestigious national honor in a ceremony, in a national ceremony. He was, Mark Wagos was distinguished with one of the country's highest honors for law enforcement officers. This signals a remarkable achievement in his illustrious career. He served with distinction in Chestermere before he came to Strathmore, and we are extremely proud of him, and we are so grateful that he is now in our community, and we would like to congratulate him and his family for this prestigious award, and wish him all the best in his future, and with gratitude for his service to our community.
Thank you very much. I guess we move now to 10.3 question and answer period. Show and tell. 10.4 administrative inquiries. Claudette, nothing. 10.5 notices of motion. Then all we have left to do is have a motion to go in camera. Deputy Mayor Langmaid.
Thank you, Worship. I would move that council move in camera to discuss items related to section 22 1, subsection B1, and 19.2 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act at 7:15 PM.
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
And that motion is carried, and we are going in camera